do and how we do it, call toll-free 1-866-928-3310. And we'll send you out a no-obligation information kit absolutely free. 866-928-3310. The CFRN Emini Futures Cast is now on Stitcher. Listen to us on your iPhone, Android phones, BlackBerry, and WebOS phones. Stitcher is smart radio for your phone. Find it in your app store or at Stitcher.com. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
Are you ready, Steve? Andy? Yeah! Bert? Well, all right, fellas. Let's go!
You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
You're listening to CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living. To learn more about who we are, what we do, and how we do it, call toll-free 1-866-928-3310. And we'll send you out a no-obligation information kit absolutely free. 866-928-3310. The CFRN Emini Futures Cast is now on Stitcher. Listen to us on your iPhone, Android phones, BlackBerry, and WebOS phones. Stitcher is smart radio for your phone. Find it in your app store or at Stitcher.com. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
Are you ready, Steve? Andy? Yeah! Bert? Well, all right, fellas. Let's go!
You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/CFRN. Over 85,000 titles. Choose from mystery, romance, religion, science, technology, business, New York Times bestsellers, even children's books. You name it, Audible has it. With 85,000 titles to choose from, you're sure to find the perfect audiobook for yourself or to give as a gift, and it's absolutely free. Just point your browser to audibletrial.com/CFRN. That's audibletrial.com/CFRN. And become a part of the audiobook revolution by downloading your free audiobook today. audibletrial.com/CFRN.
Hey, trader, want to get rich quick? Well, good luck with that. If, on the other hand, you actually want to learn how to trade, the place to be is www.cfrn.net. Tune in Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern for our daily devotional, and then spend the next 3 hours learning how it's done from professional traders who actually trade for a living. That's www.cfrn.net. Every trading day from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro, and even T-bills. Joining us today from our studios in Boston, Mr. Michael Bork, From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Friday, 2nd day of June, 2017. A little bit of a bumpy start there for a Friday, kind of like a Monday. We're going to move quick because Michael is playing Planes, Trains, and Automobiles today. But he's not playing. It's serious work. Anyway, he's going to pop in straight away, give us a recap of what happened in the live training room today. Then I'll be back with all the stuff I normally do. And we have a special guest, as you can see up on the screen today, Mr. Jason Hommel. I'm going to figure out how to pronounce that once he comes on today. He is, well, I'm going to let him tell you who he is. You're going to like this guy. Michael, if you're ready, bring it.
I am ready. It's coming. Here we go.
I'm not going anywhere, so I'll be here when you're done.
Okay. I'll get right into it then. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Today is Friday, the 2nd day of June, 2017. Let's see. Today, look, hang on, started off wrong. There. Okay. All right, I'll show you the spreadsheet. If you're going to look at the spreadsheet, you got to read all the CFTC risk disclosure stuff down at the bottom. Today is the 2nd day of the month. We were minus 16 on the euro, plus 2 on the YM, plus 3 on crude, plus 15 on gold. Gross profit of $90. Today it took us 1 minute and 1 trade to get to our goal. At that point, we're up $100 contract, and we took a total of 12 today. Okay, so on the month now we're at 230, averaging 115 a day, and on the year now we're at 16,365. That's over 103 days, averaging 158 a day, I think that says. Again, if you can read the spreadsheet, you can read all the CFTC risk disclosure stuff down at the bottom. Okay. If you have not taken our free trial, we make it real easy. I mean, we made it even easier this last weekend. We took 2 of the boxes out. So you only have 2 boxes to fill in now. Just go to the home page where it says click here right there. Click on that. Fill in those 2 forms and hit the submit button. Once you do that, you'll be sent a confirmation link. You must click the confirmation link, okay? If you don't click that confirmation link, well, we don't know you took the trial. Okay, so you must hit that link. All right. Gold. This was an example of disqualifiers for trades right there. But I am just going to get into what we did right here. First trade of the day. First one right very first minute. 9:30:01 I put that on. And made 10 ticks. And, you know, if I didn't have to do the full 2 hours every morning, I'd have been done right there. Then I had 1 more break even there, and over here I had 1 for 5 ticks. Right there, for 5 ticks. Now during the break, there was nothing. Nothing during the break. Yeah, that was it. Okay, on the euro, we got our butt handed to us by the euro today. We stopped out on that one, minus 8 ticks. We had a break even there, and we stopped out on that one, minus 8 ticks. So that put us at minus 16. We missed this little momentum trade right here. And that was it. During the break, there was a shorting opportunity right there on the euro. Okay, on crude today. Started out right here with a break even. Then we had to stop out on crude, put us at minus 8. Then we had a plus 8 right there to put us back to 0. Then we had a plus 1 right there and a plus 2 right there. We missed that one and that one. We missed that one. That was right at the end of the room. It looks like at 12:30 here, well, the cycle started with just winging around in there, so there was nothing after that. Okay. On the YM, we just had this one right here for 2 ticks. Yeah, the YM was kind of jammed up most of the morning. Didn't really have a lot of volatility. Okay, so we didn't get much of an opportunity. the ES was in a zone for most of the morning here. You can see from 8:30 all the way over here to 10:30, the ES was in a zone. All right, so that was our morning. Okay. If you have not taken a free trial with us, go to the homepage here at CFRN.net. Right here at the very top where it says click here, click there, fill in these 2 slots, hit submit, and you'll be sent the confirmation link. You must click the confirmation link. Okay. And the spreadsheet, I believe it is this one. Okay, if you're going to look at the spreadsheet, you got to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today is the 2nd day of June. We lost 16 on the euro, made 2 on the YM, made 3 on crude, and 15 on gold. Okay, got us to 90 on the day. Got us to 230 on the month, averaging 115 a day so far for the 2 days this month. That brings us to $16,365. This year, that's gross, over 103 days, averaging 158 a day. Okay? And that's it. With that, I can pass it back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona. We're looking at the nation's largest outdoor park.
Now, why don't you write it down? It's America's largest city park.
Oh, okay, America's largest city park. Here, I'm going to write it down on this piece of paper that I'm going to throw away next week.
Right. Okay.
Largest city park.
What do you overlook?
I overlook my parking lot.
Okay.
That's
fair
pretty
enough.
much it.
Okay.
Yep.
All right,
Back
brother.
to the handicap sign.
I know you got to run, so get it and go. Have a safe
Okay.
flight, and I'm sure we'll chat over the weekend.
All right, sounds good.
I don't know, that
Everybody have a
day's
great
fine.
weekend.
Well,
Thanks, Dwayne. You want the recap of the recap?
Well, of course I do.
1 minute, 1 trade, $100.
That, my friends, is why we preach after you reach your goal for the day, take the money and put the mouse away. Obi-Wan Kenobi or Kwai-Chang Kang probably said that first, but we say it. So
We do.
have a daily goal, meet your goal, go do life. All right? God didn't create you just to sit and stare at these screens all day. So, adios, amigos.
All right, we'll see you. I'll talk to you over the weekend.
All right.
All right, have a great one.
Okay, you too. All right, guys. Now, because we're doing things a little differently than we normally do them, I think John's going to call us at the bottom of the hour, and Jason will call us at the top of the hour. Okay? Let's see what's happening out there in the world that we all need to know about today. Elon, what are you up to? Elon has bailed on Trump's advisory councils. He quit because Donald Trump withdrew the U.S. from the Paris climate deal. Somebody give me a Y in the chat box so I know that you're there. Nobody had any questions from Michael yet because he was so quickly in and out. But I need to get the box open. Yeah, it takes one question. Just one little Y to get that thing open. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate that. Now, the Paris climate deal. I suppose it would depend upon whether you are a believer of the whole climate change thing. I mean, I know some very, very smart people who completely believe it. And I know some smart people who, well, quite frankly, don't. What are your thoughts? Put them in the chat box. I'd like to know. Apple CEO Tim Cook phoned the White House to urge Trump not to withdraw the U.S. from the Paris climate deal. He said the talk wasn't enough. Meal delivery service, and we talked about this yesterday, none of these meal delivery services seem to work. I mean, they try, they look good, they raise a lot of venture capital, and then they keel over. Blue Apron, who, by the way, they sponsor an awful lot of very popular podcast. Meal delivery service Blue Apron offered a detailed look at its financials for the first time as it filed to go public. Goldman Sachs is leading the offering, but we don't know yet what Blue Apron expects to raise in the IPO. Now, Blue Apron, they don't bring a hot, ready-to-eat meal to your door. They bring you the ingredients so that you and your family can bond and create a gourmet meal using gourmet ingredients following the gourmet recipe that's in the box. I would have never thought of that, but they did, and so far, now with Goldman behind them, anything's possible. Google has finally submitted plans for its long overdue UK headquarters in King's Cross, London. I've been there. It's a fine place. Both London and King's Cross. In fact, my wife slipped coming out of the tube at King's Cross. I thought I was going to have to carry her back to the hotel. Uber CEO, boy, Uber. It's Friday. I'm not even going to rant. CEO Travis Kalanick wrote a touching tribute honoring his late mother. He shared it on Facebook. All right, Travis, we got to hear your news every day. What'd you have to say about Mom? So many of you have asked me what my mom was like. You know, not one person has ever asked me what my mom was like. The best answer I can give is that she was a lover. She wore her heart on her sleeves, yes, both of them. And when she walked into a room, her warmth, her smile, and her joy would instantly fill it. They were infectious. That's kind of like my mom. And now, as I miss her terribly and feel the hole that she left in my heart, I realize much more fully the gift she gave me and commit to live it and express it in her honor. Kalanick said his father's condition has improved in the last 48 hours and wrote that prayers, heartfelt notes, and shared wisdoms are little whispers helping me pull through. Well, Travis, our hearts and our prayers are with you. Skype has received a sweeping new upgrade that refreshes the look and adds a bunch of smart new features to both text and video chat. The next generation of Skype will come first to Android devices with updates to the iOS, Windows, and Mac apps coming later this year. You know, I never got into the Skype thing. I don't know why. I don't have anything against it. I just never, with a lot of things, I'm what they call an early adopter. I get in there soon. But Skype, what about you guys? Do you use Skype? You know, my original entry, I cut it short because Michael had to run. But if you can't see the chart I have up, which is the S&P 500 Emini Futures, go to our homepage at cfrn.net. On the right-hand side of the page, click the big microphone, and where it says Watch Live Now, click that. Follow the instructions. 30-second registration. You'll be able to see the charts. You'll have access to the chat box. Now, you only have to register once per month. So if you're listening to my voice right now and you're not driving or operating heavy machinery, then do that and you'll be able to join the show for the rest of the month with one-click access. You get a reminder email an hour before the show, and then when you're ready, click. The other option is you can go to youtube.com/CFRN, and where it says live, upper left, click it, and you are live. All right. Snapchat's Spectacles have finally launched in Europe. The photo sharing company is selling the devices through its pop-up Snapbot vending machines as well as through the spectacles.com website. That's another one I just don't get. The whole Snapchat thing. with the disappearing messages, and I know it's become a lot more than that with its IPO, and its share price has become a lot less. Microsoft billionaire Paul Allen unveiled the world's biggest ever plane. It's a dual-hulled aircraft which measures 385 feet from wingtip to wingtip. Tesla has fired the female engineer who is suing the company over sexism and pervasive harassment claims. Her name is A.J. Vandermeiden. And the last really important thing you need to know. A survey found that an alarming number of startup founders endure 80-hour weeks, stress, and strained relationships. You think? It was carried out by venture capital firm BGF Ventures. This is what people who have more time and money than they know what to do with is. They study to find out that entrepreneurs, somebody trying to eke out a living, start a business, change the world, might work hard, be stressed, and as a result have strained relationships. I'm glad that they have confirmed that for us. We are forever in their debt. How many of you know what a squatty potty is? Yeah, it was on Shark Tank. And yeah, they've sold a lot of them. Now, in America, we're used to sitting on the porcelain throne when we do our business. But did you know that about 80% of the world doesn't? They squat. Hence the name Squatty Potty. You can always Google it and bring up a picture of it. It's a very clever device. A mother and son came up with it, and it did well on Shark Tank, and since it got a Shark Tank investment, it's just exploded. And of course, Kevin O'Leary says, well, couldn't you just use a stack of phone books? Kerry says that the Paris deal, according to internet sources, is unwise to do as it contains binding laws which will be terrible for our freedoms. Well, thank you for sharing that, Kerry. If you choose to be any more specific, if you have some specifics, I'd love to be able to read those to the audience. Now, I mentioned the chat box a moment ago. Guys, we have a global audience, and so if there's ever anything you've wanted to say to the world, something you need to get off your chest, a thought, an idea, you've come to the right place. Because if you put it in the chat box, I will share it with the audience, okay? Thank you for your contribution, Carrie. I appreciate that. Putin trolls Megyn Kelly about climate change, election hacking, and NATO at major international forum. Well, somebody ought to pick on her. You know, she used to be so nice when she came on in the morning with the other fellow, I forget his name, before the markets opened. But then she went on maternity leave, came back, got her own show, and became a completely different person. She's an attorney before she became a TV spokesmodel. Now she's changed networks. I think she's over at CNN. I guess we should talk about the jobs report, which was a big miss, and the unemployment rate is at a 16-year low. Now, I know that many of us consider those to be fantasy numbers. I remember in 1997-98, I paid a little above minimum wage, and I had a very difficult time attracting employees. The McDonald's across the street, they paid a little better than minimum wage, and they had uniforms. And you know how a lady loves a man in uniform, so it was tough to compete with. But we got through it. It was called the tech meltdown of 2000, and then pretty soon everybody was looking for a job. And I had more employees than I could shake a 401k at. Anyhow, The pace of job creation in the U.S. slowed by more than expected in May, and less participation in the labor market helped to push the unemployment rate to a 16-year low. Now remember, those people who stopped looking and their unemployment benefits ran out, we no longer consider them to be unemployed. They just don't exist. The economy did add 138,000 non-farm payrolls, while the unemployment rate fell to 4.3%. I know a lot of people out of work. Maybe I'm just hanging with the wrong crowd. Economists had forecast 182,000 non-farm payrolls and a 4.4% unemployment rate. A broader measure of unemployment that includes people who are working part-time but would prefer full-time jobs. The U6, or underemployment rate, fell to 8.4%, its lowest level since November of 2007. I mentioned the other day that my brother-in-law works for Amazon in their fulfillment center about 5 miles from where I live. He only works 4 hours a night because he only wants to work 4 hours a night because he is collecting his retirement, Social Security. But he said there are very few people in that fulfillment center who have full-time jobs, even though they want them, because they want the benefits. Now, even though he only does 4 hours a night, he is getting insurance, which I thought was very nice of Jeff. Jeff and I disagree about a lot, but on some things, he's an okay guy. The share of people who are either working or job hunting relative to everyone in their prime working age, the labor force participation rate declined to 62.7% from 62.9%. Wage growth was little changed, and economists had expected this because of a calendar quirk. The survey week for the jobs report usually includes the 12th of the month, but in this case that fell in a different week from May 15th, when many workers get paid and would receive any raises. Average hourly earnings increased by 0.2% from April and rose by 2.5% year on year. Despite a tightening in the labor market, wages don't seem to be picking up, and that's kind of hard to explain. According to Andrew over at Glassdoor, one reason could be that the top line wage growth numbers mask progress in stronger industries. Despite the miss on job gains, this report should provide the final green light to the Federal Reserve. It meets later in June and is expected to raise borrowing costs for the second time this year, confident that wages will eventually pick up amid a shortage of skilled workers. Retail trade lost 6,100 jobs, and the majority were in large department stores. Everybody's shopping online. I'm telling you, my wife, the Amazon van comes here 5 to 6 times a day. Now, I've told you about her review business, but a lot of it is stuff she actually orders. Why? Because it's cheaper than if we went to Walmart to buy it, and we get free shipping because of the Prime membership. Up to 3,500 department stores are expected to close this year as more and more consumers choose to shop online. I remember when the internet first came out on that little AOL CD. Those things were everywhere, and no one would have ever thought of banking online or putting their credit card number online. And now it's a way of life. My, the times, they are changing. Okay, John should be calling in here shortly. Jason will join us at the top of the hour. Let us go right now to our good word for the day. And of course, we'll cover the Concierge Trade Alerts all along the way. You may not believe it, but you can change. Yeah, I know you're like me. You're set in your ways, but you can change. Ephesians 4:22 says, "Put off your former conduct and be renewed in the spirit of your mind." Mindsets are patterns whereby your mind automatically operates a certain way. You don't even have to think about it. It's an impulse, animal instinct. That means you can set yourself up for misery by reacting to the same people and circumstances in the same way, yet expecting different results. I think Einstein called that insanity. Some of us are living an insane life. Maybe you're saying, after all these years, I thought he'd change. No matter how hard I try, my family doesn't appreciate me. How come I'm the only one who makes an effort to stay in touch? It's easy to blame your problems on others. Look what he's doing. Look how long I've waited. Why doesn't she call? And we could go on and on and on. Oh, did you see the new car so-and-so got? Must be nice. Well, maybe it is nice. Maybe it is nice to work really hard and get a raise or a bonus or a company car. You know, maybe so-and-so actually deserves the new car. We think the answer to our problems lies in getting the other person to do what we want. But that kind of thinking is self-defeating. It gives control to others. Your happiness isn't determined by other people, even though many of us have convinced ourselves that it is. You see, it was a hard lesson learned, but thank God I finally learned it. Whenever I have an issue with someone, conflict, whatever it might be, I used to pray, God, change them, fix them. They're broken. They need help. Not anymore. Now, when I have issue with someone, I ask God to change me. Change the way I see it, the way I discern it, the way I feel about it, the way I react to it. Remember we talked yesterday about Michael Jackson, The Man in the Mirror? When my son played it so well at the concert, but they never taught them the lyrics, just the music. When I went over the lyrics with him, he was really touched, and he goes, and yet Michael didn't change, Dad. Look at how he died. And I said, well, son, we don't know really what happened and how hard he tried. But for every one of us, whatever problems we have in our life, instead of lashing out, looking outward, figuring out who or what or when to blame, take a look at the man in the mirror. Take a look inside. God, what can I do differently? You may have been trying to change your spouse for 20 years, trying to mold and shape them into the person that you always wanted them to be. Well, I got news for you. That ain't going to happen. That dog won't hunt. The only person that you can change is yourself. And most of us can only do that with God's help. God, help me to be a better person. Help me to see more clearly. Help me to be more understanding. And to those who despitefully use me, lie about me, and hate me, help me by your grace to love them the way Jesus told us to. That's hard, man. That's really hard. But if you can master that, you will find that perfect peace. An experienced counselor writes, if you don't like the same results, try pushing a different button. Look at your relationships. Is there a situation that's going downhill despite your best efforts? I mean, you've tried and you've tried and you've tried to whip your boss into shape, and he just won't line up. Or your employee, or your spouse, or your pastor, or your neighbor. Doggone it, you've tried everything. You've prayed for him and fasted for him and, oh, goodness, bought him gifts, took him on trips, and, man, they won't change. Are you waiting for someone or something to change instead of doing something different? Think about your situation right now. Whatever it is, we all got stuff, right? Life happens and it's full of stuff. Instead of doing something different, we wait and we wait for them to change. God's saying, stop pushing the same button. Ask God for clarity. Ask Him to allow you to see the situation through His eyes. When we see the world and other people through God's eyes, man, everything changes. Pray that God would give you the grace to act with wisdom and responsibility. You're not a victim of circumstances. You don't have to stay stuck on stupid or keep going around in circles. And I'm talking to myself here. Paul wrote, "Put off your former conduct and be renewed in the spirit of your mind." I write this a lot at the end of articles, essays, emails. Change your thinking, change your life. And if it's an article on trading, I could throw that in there too. Change your thinking, change your trading, change your life. Put off your former conduct and be renewed by the spirit of your mind. I mean, accept it. Face it. Nothing else works. The only person you can change is you. The word for you today is simply this: you can change. And that's our good word for the day. All right, let's take a look at the Concierge Trade Alerts. Now, I know our guests haven't showed up yet. I'm assuming they will. We're not expecting Jason till top of the hour. John will be coming along here any minute, the Stock Whisperer. But I'm going to drag out the alerts from last night so that everyone who wants to take a screenshot can do so. If you have logged in through the GoToWebinar app, that little thing up on top that looks like a camera, it is. Click it and it'll save a JPEG screenshot to your desktop. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. The S&P. Now, this is our highest weekly trading zone for this week. Kind of a big deal. When price finally got there yesterday, we had alerted our clients, partners, to consider buying 2416. As we made it up to the highest weekly trading zone, it was good for $650 per contract. But it wasn't done. Last night, as the Asian session opened, it continued to work its way a little bit higher. And then along came the London Open right here. We took a little dip, and then we put in a high at 24.37 and a quarter. But then in the following 30 minutes, these are 30-minute candles, you can see right there, 30 minutes, it reversed and came right back down. So this is going to be a difficult area to get through. As you can see, the market is turning down right now from that very same point. Just follow the horizontal line of my cursor across the screen. See that? Yep. So, based on historical observance, price will close at end of business today at 24.30 or below. Now, we've been publishing the weekly trading zones since December 14th of 2009. The number of times that we've closed above the highest or below the lowest weekly zone on a Friday afternoon, I do have to take my shoes off now. I used to say I could count them on one hand, and then it was both hands, and then I got to the point I have to take my shoes off to count how many times that's happened. We never set out to do that. We didn't create the weekly trading zones for that purpose. It's just something that about 9 months in, 6 to 9 months in, I said, hey, Michael, check this out. And so, does it mean we're going to sell off this afternoon? Based on historical observance, there is a high probability that we will at least get back down to 24.30, possibly lower. I have sat here some Friday afternoons and have watched in the final 5 minutes of trading, right up until 5 p.m. Eastern, and this thing would race down. John, is that you? John? I thought I heard John. Okay. John, if you're there, I cannot hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Welcome to the show.
Oh, okay. Great. Thank you. Thanks. Great to be on.
Well, you were right yesterday. The S&P kept climbing higher.
Thanks very much. No, listen, it's been an unbelievable month for us. I'm probably going to make some revelations early next week. I got some work to do this weekend. I'm really putting out a monumental report on gold, and even though I published it a week ago, I want to update it, not with anything that I'm adding really on the technical picture with gold, but which we've already, forecast or outlined, and it couldn't be working out better, in all honesty. In a way, when you've got a market that's sort of going up in fits and starts like this, it's a real bull. This is sort of a real bull market, because if you notice, we have these sort of heart attack pullbacks like we've had. We go up and then we pull back, and it's frustrating. But this is sort of classic. It's quite symptomatic of the early stages of a bull market, and the fact that we have these impulse moves like today, where we suddenly, we've been talking about the importance of getting through 1275, and we went through it like a knife through butter today. Silver, which sort of went down and tested the 17, at the beginning of the week, and now it's 17, almost hit 1760 today. I think possibly, sometime next week, we're probably going to be heading for 18 on the silver, and maybe get up to 1290, 1295 on the gold. Now, in spite of doing that, we could still have, some pullbacks. This is providing great trading opportunities in the nugget and the JNUG and the dust and the JDust. This is really great trading, and in the gold stocks themselves. So, and we have, I'll just tell you, I probably put out over 1,000 alerts in a matter of weeks, and in different, divided up into different stocks and different ins and outs and all that kind of thing. Right now, we're basically at maximum long position on the market since the turn up, since that last little downturn we had, and the one where right after the Fed, when I said this could be the beginning of the mega run up to 22,000, and we've only got 800 points to go now, and we're there at 22,000. So that could happen pretty quick the way this market is acting, because here we are, we're kind of going up on bad news today, given that the employment was a bit of a shocker in the sense that it didn't gel with the ADP.
Right.
We were dead right on the 250,000. We said maybe 250,000 on the ADP, but we were wrong on the the actual number. So I don't it may have been badly surveyed or whatever.
The way they compile those numbers, to me, it's just I call them fantasy numbers. However, you have to take them.
Putting your finger in the wind. It's sort of like putting your finger in the wind, kind of thing.
Well, you've got all these people who have fallen off the unemployment rolls. They may still be looking for work, but the government has no way of tracking them because their unemployment benefits have run out. So, how do they know?
Yeah, exactly. And but anyway, look, the market's going up, and it's the kind of Goldilocks economy. Obviously, the market's going up because the Fed, when we get numbers like this, the Fed does, it's probably...
We're going to get a hike in June. Today, I just read, said that this was the final green light for the Fed to give us another raise.
Why would they do that? They're not going to raise rates if the employment's going to go down. I don't think so.
Well,
I think the reason the market's going up is because the amount of stimulus going into the market around the world right now is record. Without the Fed, it's at all-time records. So
let me read you just a quick quote. Despite the miss on job gains, this report should provide the final green light to the Federal Reserve. It meets later in June and is expected to raise borrowing costs for the second time this year, confident that wages will eventually pick up amid a shortage of skilled workers. Now, that was written by, just one of the editors over at Business Insider. So, it's not from any big name, but that's his take on it. So, you have a different take. Okay. I like your take better.
Well, look, I just don't think they're not going to keep raising rates if the economy is not performing. So, if we're not accelerating. Now, look, maybe they'll pass on the June rate hike. That would be probably interpreted as bullish. Remember, what's the impetus for this? There's got to be something that's going to cause the market to go up 23,000. In this mega run. Look at Apple, Amazon, and Google right now. They're soaring to new highs as we speak, and this is part of our theory that we're going to run, that these stocks have got 10% more on the upside from here, and in a very short period of time. June, July, August is basically what I see as these stocks go parabolic. That's the way it looks. And if the Fed doesn't raise in June, it just gives the Wall Street another excuse to buy more stock. And however, I think the rate hike is going to come maybe the following time they meet. Maybe they'll find that they're behind the curve because suddenly inflation will show up or something, and they might even they might hike by more. Also, the U.S. dollar. I mean, look at the dollar right now. It's right on the low of the day.
I'm looking at Amazon right now. They're up 1% on the day.
Yeah.
If they don't split this thing pretty soon,
it's going to go parabolic. It's going to go parabolic. It's in the middle of a parabolic acceleration here, and the dollar is actually probably in a beginning of death spiral right here now, and it looks like the dollar is going to tank pretty badly, going forward. And remember, at this point, the psychology is, if the dollar dropped 2% between now and next week, theoretically stocks are going to go up 2%, as well, because when the dollar goes down, stocks get revalued in cheaper dollars. So the dollar is an impetus to higher prices at this particular point in the cycle. Now, at some point, if the dollar gets too weak, then maybe at some point stocks are going to diverge and they're going to plunge. And at that point, maybe gold and silver are going to accelerate higher. In spite of today's, very impressive up move in gold, we've just got a sell on the nugget and J-Nug, and the dust is not giving up without a fight here, and we've got the dust trying to go higher again. So it's a little frustrating because people are saying, well, why aren't the gold stocks doing better when the gold is going higher? I think maybe it could be today, but maybe it's going to be next week where suddenly we see the gold surge to 1290, 1295. I think when we go through 1300, that's when the nugget and the J nugget will really break out to the upside. So, and a note to Mike, he did say quite presciently today that the J nug has a problem at 17.5, and sure enough, it came off, and it's right now back down under 17 again. So, it's definitely in a way it's a little bit of a tough market to negotiate. It's been actually easy up until today. It's a little bit harder today because you'd think that the nugget and the J nug would be roaring, but remember that the gold's gone up in anticipation. I mean, a few days ago we were marveling, if you like, at GOLD at 95, and we were still long. It ran up to 98 today. We actually are out of gold. We sold it. We pretty much sold everything at the highs today, and we bought the dust and the jade dust at the lows. And so far, that's turned out to be a pretty good trade. We also got back into the energy right near the lows this morning, and I'm happy to say the energy is recovering. So that was a pretty hard trade to actually put on, but it's worked out. It's in the process of working out very well. And I think the energy market could actually go higher. We also got a bit of a pop in coffee, but we sold the coffee up around 127.90 or 80. And when we sell, we go short automatically because we're always long or short. Believe it or not, coffee is down to 126, down to 126. So another couple of points there to add to the ledger. One of the things that's not acting so well, TTD, which I've been talking about, I thought is very bullish. Just hit 56.70 a few minutes ago. It's really, it certainly looks like it's still got some upside here. Facebook has been acting very well today as well. Priceline, Netflix. NVIDIA, we actually put a sell on NVIDIA today at 145. It's down to 143, and it's 90 right now. Look, the market's had a hell of a run, and maybe something happens over the weekend, or we get a bit of a pullback. But right now, this market it's becoming a big up day, and given that it's a Friday. And we're going out this strong, it probably means we could gap higher going into next week. So I wouldn't. This is a real juggernaut right now. It's like a train, that's moving at a fairly high speed, and it's certainly it doesn't seem to want to reverse at all right now. It's just really, really strong. The LABU hit a new high today, 14. Oh, by the way, some of our our drug calls, Intercept Pharmaceuticals, we went long that yesterday. We've basically been saying to buy any dips on it. It was lower, so it's had a great run off the recent lows, which I think we highlighted on this show a week or two ago. Intercept could be beginning its major up move. Gilead, GILD. Celgene, all of these stocks are starting to really perform well. So finally the fourth leg of the stool, i.e. the health, the pharmaceuticals, are starting to kick in with this market and are definitely helping the upside on the Nasdaq right now. So listen, this is historic what's going on here. This is really amazing. run. And yesterday, I think we had the biggest run in the mid cap for a long, long time, and we did a terrific switch. You know, we were long the TZA a few days ago for about a 7% or 8% up move, and then we switched out of that. We sold the TZA, got into the TNA at 47, and we just hit 56 a few minutes ago. That was just a couple of days ago. So really has been a fantastic move up for us on that one, and on the LABU, which we got into at 42, and it's now at 49. So that's two really tremendous performers there.
Nice job, John. Nice job.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much. I'm hoping to complete this report over the weekend, and it's not that I don't want to really add much to say about. You know, we've already kind of, so far the gold and silver are doing more or less what we thought would happen. But what I want to add to it is there's something came out yesterday on some website that's very interesting. Oh yeah, I mean this here it is. Hedge funds pile into gold at the fastest pace since 2007. That actually came out yesterday.
Really?
So that's these are the sort of things I want to add to that report just to give it more credence, you know. So I talked about copper. It hasn't broken out really yet, but I think that maybe in the next few months, if you see the copper sort of getting up 260, 270, 280, 290, getting back up towards $3, that's really going to tell you that the economy is gaining. But look, Trump, you know, this is no easy.
What's your thoughts on this Paris deal? I mean, that's what everybody's talking about.
You know, well, look, you know, unfortunately, the problem is that the left wingers are so kind of, you know, they're so hateful. Number one, they're so, you know, besotted over Hillary and the loss and everything like that. They can't see straight. They can't see reason. And I mean, Trump probably gave his best speech ever yesterday because he really pointed out why this is a bad deal. And it's the same as the Iranian deal. I mean, you know, Obama giving these people $150 billion and giving them, worse still, giving them $1.7 billion in cash. I mean, that's got to be against the law, just doing that. You know, and that was bribery for the hostages. I mean, God, it's just so immoral. It's beyond the pale. And then he obviously, I mean, he negotiated. Why the heck should the U.S. start, you know, penalizing itself by, you know, by binding itself in emissions 5 or 10 years before China or India? I mean, that's absolutely insane. And this guy went along with it. I mean, he couldn't negotiate his way out of a paper bag. This guy. Hang on a second.
Hey, John.
Hello, this is Jason.
Jason, welcome to the show. How are you?
Yes, hi. I'm good.
It is a pleasure to finally talk to you. I've messaged you off and on a couple times over the years and invited you to come and be a part of the show, and somehow we just never seemed to connect. You were a really busy guy there for a while, and I know life has
sure was.
Changed a bit for you, and so I've told my audience that we were going to have a special guest today. I'm telling everybody last couple days what I'd like you to do, if you will, just kind of give us a little bit of a background on who you are, how you got into the silver game. Who is Jason? Is it Hommel or Hommel?
Yes, Hommel.
Hommel. Okay, very good.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
I listened to a 2-hour
podcast
with you. I listened to a 2-hour podcast you did. I don't know, probably 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 5. I forget who it was with, but it was you guys were talking about the apocalypse, and I said, man, that guy's fascinating. I got to get him on the show. And so, well, here you are.
Well, here we are. We have about a half an hour. Let me see if I can give you a very quick rundown, unless you're.
No, that's great. No, that's perfect. Perfect.
Okay. All right. Let's see. I got into the silver business probably around 1999 when I wanted to start buying some. I had heard in the gun shop. I was in a gun shop, and I had heard that gold at $300 an ounce was ridiculously low because the miners can't even really produce it for
at that price
without losing money. Mm-hmm. And so it seemed to be like a shoe-in because in 1999 we were 20 years away from the former highs in 1980, where it hit a peak of 850, and I knew about that even when I was 10 years old.
Now that was the Hunt brothers. That was the Hunt brothers.
It ran up so fast.
Yeah,
it was a very formative event for me. So I got about 4 gold coins and I got some silver coins, and I went home and I showed my dad, and he didn't own any gold, like most people. Mm-hmm. So for him, looking at gold coins was a real novel experience. And he's like, well, these are mine now. I'm like, no, you can't just take mine. Well, I'll buy them for you. I said, no, you're not even allowed to buy my coins for me because you have to go and get them from the bullion dealer like everybody else. He's like, well, how do I know that they're real? Hey, look, if you want them, go buy them. I'll help you. So when he actually did buy some, he bought them out of almost jealousy, but he thought they were cool, and he liked the story, so he bought some. And so that was around the year 2000. I think he bought around, or 1999. He bought maybe like 90 ounces or something. It was like a lot. I was like, wow, but that's cool. He made it an investment with some of his money. He thought it was a good deal. It probably would go up. And then I got him into silver because he asked me the question. He's like, well, how do we know which is better, gold or silver? And how do we know that? And that was a hard question. I had to do some research. And after I had done a significant amount of research, the historic ratio to silver and gold in price was 16-1. And it had been that way for hundreds of years. So with silver as low as 80-1 or 70-1, when we started buying back when silver was about $5 an ounce, I said, silver's going to outperform gold. It has to, because not only is the ratio so much cheaper, historically speaking, but silver is actually more rare in a sense because a lot of silver gets consumed in industry and gold does not.
Exactly. All the gold that's ever been mined is pretty much still around, but silver, you're right, it gets used up. Okay, some of it does.
It does get used up. So why in the world is silver so? I mean, since silver is getting used up and since it's so rare,
we have a finite supply.
So why isn't the silver ratio 10-1 higher? Because it's more rare and getting consumed. And the answer is that the prices are manipulated, and people get. It took me a longer time, I think, to find out why silver is so hated by the banking establishments and why they keep the price so low. I think it would reveal the fraud of the dollar if silver were higher. The silver price could easily be 10-1 ratio. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if it were, it would reveal that silver is, a threat to the banking establishment. It would reveal how little there is left. I think they were.
Tell us why it's a threat to the banking industry, and how much J.P. Morgan and Jamie Dimon have to do with this mess.
I think they have a huge deal to do with the mess. What's the first part of your question again? Why is it so low?
Why is silver a threat to the banking industry?
Oh, why is it a threat?
Yeah.
So it's the biggest threat because the silver market is so tiny and they've printed up so much money. Paper money in general, historically speaking, can always be exchanged for silver and gold. And if the holders of paper money do that, then paper money loses its value, and people have the right to print paper money out of thin air.
Well, this fiat currency, I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Their power, they have to sort of prevent people from doing the unthinkable, which is fleeing from the paper currency into gold and silver.
Right.
But they've been so successful at the paper money game. You have to understand how much paper money is out there, like in bank accounts and things. And it's easily over $4 trillion in bank accounts. It's 18 trillion or whatever, maybe even 10 years ago when I stopped counting. So with $18 trillion out there, well, let's say 1%. Let's say 1% of the money in the banking establishment went into the silver market. Well, 1% would be $180 billion. Mm-hmm. It's not unthinkable that 1% of the money out there would want to protect itself from inflation. That's a rational thing to think about happening.
Sure.
Especially under times of stress. If the dollar really started collapsing rather fast, it's not unthinkable to think that 1% of the money, $180 billion, would go into silver, and maybe another 1% would go into gold. And so 180 billion. Let's see, how would that fit into the silver market? How much of it available silver is there for investment? And the answer is surprisingly small. We're talking maybe $1 billion, $5 billion extra. So if 180 billion tried to chase $5 billion worth of silver, the price would go up astoundingly. My calculations show silver would have to go to about $500 an ounce just to clear the market if 180 billion went into it over the course of an entire year. Nice and slow. At 18 billion a month, or they're about $15 billion a month, it would drive silver to $500 an ounce. And right now, silver's at 16. So that's why it's a horrible threat to the banking establishment. They don't want people to do that. So that they have to completely control the media. They can't let people talk about it. And they have to control it. There's several ways that they're controlling it. The big way is that, they control most of the big brokerage houses where people keep their investable money. So if you call up Morgan Stanley or JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs and you say, look, I want to buy silver and gold, the first thing they'll try and do is talk you out of it.
Well, and then they're going to put you into SLV, fake gold, paper gold.
Well, that's another thing, but let me get to SLV in a little bit. That SLV, I do believe, is paper silver, but that's not the biggest fraud out there. We don't really know if SLV has the silver backing it.
Well, according to their
all kinds of exemptions and loopholes.
The prospectus says
they can't get sued and you can't take delivery, and we can deliver it with paper futures contracts rather than the silver itself. They created so many loopholes.
It's a scam.
Trying to create a situation where they don't have to provide the silver for investors. In fact, unless your name is Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan, you can't get silver out of the SLV. You have to redeem it like at $500,000 chunks at a time. So it's not a vehicle for anybody, for any investor to even get any silver at all.
Absolutely.
But neither are the other trading vehicles like CEF, which I believe is far more likely to have the silver and gold. You can't get the silver and gold out of that either because they hold their forms of silver and gold in large bricks, which are completely unsuitable for individual redemptions. Mm-hmm. And that's not a service that they offer. You can always, cash out, sell it at your broker, take the cash, and then go to a bullion dealer that has the mintable coins. But that's, another two-step process. Let me tell you, the primary mechanism that they use to deceive people is if you call up your broker and you want to buy silver and gold, they'll A, talk you out of it, and B, finally they'll say things like, okay, well, we'll let you buy silver in your account. So they'll claim to have bought it for you, but they won't go out and actually buy it. So what they're doing is they'll say, you have X number of ounces in your account, but that is simply a liability of the brokerage house to you. 99% of people, when they go to buy silver and gold, buy it through their brokers in their accounts. They assume their broker is going to go buy the silver and gold, put it in a vault somewhere, but that never happens. It just becomes a liability of the brokerage house to you.
Yeah.
Right. So it is, in essence, a short position of the bank, okay? And to balance your long position, that's what they mean when they say for every long there's a short. They don't have to be short. They could go out and buy the silver and have a neutral position, okay? But that's not the things that they say when they're caught red-handed about it. And I caught them red-handed about it in the BIZ reports. The BIZ is the Bank of International Settlements, and they publish a derivatives report. And in their derivatives report, they listed the total amount of gold, precious metal derivatives that are open and outstanding in the worldwide markets, and they list another category, and they disingenuously lyingly call it the other precious metals category.
Okay.
Well, the other precious metals category would obviously include silver, platinum, and palladium. However, platinum and palladium are not really traded, at all, especially not as futures. Those futures markets are almost non-existent. It's primarily all just silver. So in the silver category, I had discovered that it was somewhere around $300 billion. And it had increased about $150 billion in 1 year when the silver market was getting hot. So we've already had an event whereby, just like I said, about 1% of money in the entire banking system tried to buy silver. All the people went to the brokers, said, I want to buy silver, and they said, fine, you now have it in your account. After much discussion and pleading with them to buy it, the customers still bought it anyway, and the price of silver didn't budge. This was around when silver was $20 an ounce.
Right.
In other words, they successfully diverted investor demand for silver away from silver by claiming to have it in people's paper brokerage account statements, and the people never take delivery. And that makes sense because anybody who wants to buy about $1 million worth of silver at $20 an ounce, you're talking tons. This is tons.
Let me
it's well over 2,000 pounds of silver. Nobody wants to move that much. Rick,
let me ask you a question.
You can't get that much at your local coin shop. They barely have any.
Well, they have to order it in. It takes a few weeks for it to come in. Comes UPS. Now, a friend of mine...
but nobody really wants to order $1 million at a time because it's more than one person can even move in a day.
Yeah. Well, a friend of mine bought the silver coins, very close friend. They're, I think, 1 ounce rounds. Are they called Walking Liberties? What's the 1 ounce coin called?
So
it's very common that you would go into a coin shop and buy. It's an actual...
Yeah. Let me tell you, they call them rounds. They call them rounds because
but aren't they Walking Liberties or something?
Has a lock. Yeah, they call them Walking Liberties or rounds because you can't use the word coin, because coin is a legal term reserved by the U.S. Mint to describe circulating, officially issued currency. So if you buy a private mint coin, it's not illegal, but you just can't call it a currency. You can't call it a coin. So the industry calls it a silver round.
Is it a bad
silver in the shape of a round disc?
Is it a bad investment?
I don't think so. We push those more than anything else because
my friend filled up his gun safe with these coins, as opposed to gold.
Perfect.
He went with those.
Yeah, I think those are the best thing because you can buy those at maybe 8% over spot, whereas if you buy the US
you paid
Eagle,
about 19 and change,
18,
I think.
20% over spot. You have to pay like 15% more for them. Why pay 20% over spot? Because I'll tell you one thing: the ultimate buyer of last resort is the melting bucket. The melting bucket does not care. The melting bucket will pay you 10% under spot, regardless of what it is. Maybe even 15, 20% under spot, regardless of the shape that it's in. The melting bucket pays the same. It doesn't care. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I
so
do.
Why pay extra going in? It makes no sense.
So there is there, now I hear this all the time, there's a massively naked short position in silver. So this is why banks are motivated to artificially depress the price.
Yeah, so I just described for you the biggest naked short position, which is, or maybe the second biggest, which is the over-the-counter brokerage account statements from the banks who owe silver to their clients. That's a short position. Okay. When you have it in your paper statement account. And we even know the size of it, because they've admitted the size of it. That size is about, $300 million or whatever, $300 billion or whatever, at its biggest. Maybe it fluctuates. Maybe it's down to $200 billion now. Who knows? I'd have to look at the latest report. I haven't done it in a few years. Nobody seemed to really pay attention to this news when I released it a few years ago. Didn't really show up on almost any other analysis of any other precious metals analyst. As Bill Murphy says, oh my gosh, people of the world are stuck in the whole not invented here syndrome. People are very petty and stupid, and they feel that unless they invented the analysis, it's not worth looking at. I don't know what plagues humankind. It's just pettiness and jealousy, and I don't want to cover something that Jason already covered first, and who knows why these people who are out there. There's easily another 100 analysts who are talking about silver. And of course, it will never appear in the mainstream news because it's all controlled. So the only other outlet are other guys like me. And when they get all petty and jealous and don't want to talk about it, and only 3 people do, it just gets frustrating. I think it's one of the biggest scoops in news media for our era, because the biggest issue that our people in this era can even talk about is fake money. And this one reveals it. And for years I was hearing, well, there's no way to know what the over-the-counter short position really is. And boom, we found it. I couldn't believe it when I finally got that information. It was mind-altering for me. And the world, not even in the precious metals world, didn't even care. Not even the big guys like Peter Schiff or Rick Rule or anybody even commented on it. I was so disappointed. And I hammered the theme home for years. So that's one of the biggest. But the biggest short position is the dollar itself. The dollar itself is supposed to be backed by silver and gold. Every dollar that exists could theoretically wind up and decide, you know what, this is fake money, I want real money.
Yeah, but we came off the gold and silver standard. I mean, we understand now that on this show we talk all the time about the Federal Reserve is as much federal as Federal Express. I mean, that it's such a scam that was perpetrated on the American people when the Federal Reserve was created. But go ahead with what you were saying.
But doesn't that make sense that every dollar that exists is theoretically a short position on gold? And the reason why is because it's not backed by gold. It's not just every dollar that exists, every yuan that exists, and every euro that exists, it's everything. All money can eventually realize and wake up and decide, oh, this stuff is fraud, we need the real deal.
Mm-hmm. Are the Chinese Are the Chinese secretly hoarding gold, and are they going to come out and announce that their currency is now backed by gold and try to become the world's currency?
When you look at the amounts involved and what they've already admitted to, we can see that they are accumulating some gold. However, they have often, through some of their ministers, said things like, we should at least buy a certain amount of gold, like maybe 1% to back our currency. And they've hinted at buying maybe 2,000 tons of gold, which is almost 1 year's worth of world annual production. They only actually officially admitted to buying about 500 tons of gold, which is a quarter of that, over many years. So one of the things you'll read in the press often, or among those people who talk about this, is that we may have we may owe China a lot of dollars, and they have a lot of U.S. bonds, but it's also big. But the problem of our currency is their problem too, because if they had about $2 trillion worth of bonds or something. See, the trouble is, if they tried to even spend 1% of their U.S. bonds on gold, the rest of the value of their holdings would lose 20%, 30% of its value.
Mm-hmm.
So, they could try to buy gold, but in the beginning stages, gold price would move up so much that they would lose more gold value in the rest of their holdings. So I think they're in a bit of a quandary and problem about what to do about this. I frankly, I don't think that they know what to do or feel that there's a good answer for them. Because it's also a highly political thing. If they start buying gold, they also have to protect the gold, meaning they might have to get into a war with the United States. I don't think they want that. So these are big, big political questions that involve a lot more than just the gold price. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It does make sense. And
as it was explained to me by a kid who was a family who made well over $30 million in the banking industry, he explained it this way. He said, when the money piles get big enough, one private armed security guard is not enough. You need and want to basically, if you're having, if you own most of the world's gold in New York City, you're relying on the United States military to protect your hoard. So all gold is essentially backed, or all gold in New York is essentially backed by the United States military. So that's why these people end up controlling the government as a means to protect their wealth. Our government is completely usurped. The way I look at it is, the government's supposed to be operating for the people.
Right.
But as soon as the government borrows money, it is operating for the benefit of the people they owe money to, which is the banking lenders. When they have to pay usury back to the bankers, that's when the government has been subverted and overthrown, when they owe money. And in fact, our government was overthrown. Some people say, FDR overthrew there was a big national bankruptcy, and that may well be the case. But
well, we were held hostage for the last 8 years, if you ask me.
Well, absolutely, but really, you have to go back to when the Constitution was founded, and why was it founded? Why did we have a Constitution? We had a functioning government. From the Revolutionary War, we had this government operated under the Articles of Confederation. And if you look in the history books, the excuses are that the Articles of Confederation didn't allow the government the ability to raise enough money to pay the vets for fighting the Revolutionary War. So what happened is the vets, they were given these banknotes by the new government. The government was never able to pay. So eventually, most of the banknotes were owned and bought up at 10 cents on the dollar by bankers who then foreclosed on the government. Said, look, if you can't pay us, we own you. So they owned the new government, reformed the new government under the
well, that's biblical. That's biblical right there. The lender is slave to the borrower.
That is. It's totally biblical right there, right out of Revelation 17 and 18. It's the harlot controlling the wild beast, the harlot being money lenders, the beast being the government. So one of the first things they did was they allowed the new government to go into debt, which of course the bankers liked because then they can enslave them, and they gave it the power to tax. The Articles of Confederation didn't give either of those powers to the government. They couldn't borrow the money and they couldn't tax it, which is exactly how you get freedom. So we've been enslaved to the bankers from the moment the United States Constitution was founded. I don't want to go back to the Constitution. I want to go back to earlier. And I don't want to go back. I want to go forward. The Bible and history is replete, filled with stories of people who have thrown off the shackles of the bankers. And I want to jump all the way up to World War II to give you a real good story on the nature and fraudulent nature of this whole money lending beast. As you know, Nixon took us off the gold standard in 1971, and the gold price was pegged at $35 an ounce. Okay? But at the end of World War II, jumping back a little bit further, the United States borrowed about $250 billion to win World War II. Well, if you analyze how much $250 billion is at $35 an ounce, you'll see that it's more gold than exists in the entire world, even to this day. In other words, my argument is that the paper money debt that we borrowed, based on the amount of gold at the time, was fraudulent in its nature, and therefore does not need to be paid back in any way, shape, or form. $250 billion doesn't sound like a lot, but when you analyze how much it was at $35 an ounce back in the day, you'll see that we needed to go off the gold standard right at the end of World War II, because there's no way we could pay back more gold than exists in the world. If you think about it, once a banker is owed more gold than exists in the world, you're done. You're totally enslaved. You can't get out of it unless you declare bankruptcy. So we need to declare bankruptcy on the world bankers and tell them, go jump in a lake. We don't owe you squat because your debt is entirely fraudulent to begin with. Unfortunately, we don't have a president who's smart enough to understand and say these things, but maybe in the future one day we will have one. And that's what tends to happen in history. That happens. The debts get overthrown. So maybe one day it will. And when it does, that's when silver and gold will really take off. And what's interesting about the United States, that could happen every 4 years. We could get a man in there who could undo the shackles of paper money.
Yeah. Well, we had we came real close to getting a haircut here at this last election. I mean, I can only imagine the world we'd be living in today if the votes had not. I was reading this morning. Yes, we all know Trump won. I wish the leftist media could get over it and get on, let him get on with the job of being president. But I mean, a few people in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, if they hadn't turned out or had voted the other way, we could actually have Hillary Clinton as our president. I don't know about you, but to me that's a very frightening thought.
It was a very shockingly close election.
Oh, my goodness.
It was interesting. A lot of us Trump supporters thought that the support for Trump was a lot bigger than it was, partly because people on the internet tend to skew very right, because people who spend their time on the internet are often readers and thinkers. And readers and thinkers skew right. It's the people who don't think, can't think, don't read that skew left, who get all their information just from mainstream news.
Yeah, just watch Water's World.
We have a really great divide in this country. I mean, not great. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's a big divide, is what I mean to say. And it's largely not very bridgeable, it seems, because people really get married to their views, regardless of how much facts there are. And very awake people can't stand Republicans for all of their corruption and big government ways.
My
there's only
wife
a few very small contingent libertarian Republicans, like the Ron Paul Republicans, who get it.
Right. My wife comes from a very large family. There was 9 kids. It was a Catholic family. Now, I only had one brother, and everyone in my family's gone. God called them all home. It's just me and Granny. She's 92, and we used to always joke that she would outlive us all, and it looks like she may. And and part of it has to do with her attitude. She's happy as a clam. She's in an assisted living place, but son, they cook my breakfast, they wash the dishes. She goes, I'm already in heaven. She says, when I die, I won't even notice the difference. I leave, I'll just be in an even better place. So anyway, the point, I guess, or what I wanted to ask you is, with this thing hanging over our head that you speak about, individuals cannot call their broker and say, buy me gold or silver. These ETFs are worthless. These warehouse receipts. What a joke. When the bombs start falling, you're going to drive to Chicago and get your gold out of the warehouse because you got a receipt.
Yeah, no.
This is why my very close friend went with those 1 ounce silver walking liberties, because he felt that would be something that he might be able to trade for a loaf of bread if it ever came to that.
Yeah.
What is your
with
best
an ounce
advice
of silver?
to
With
the
an ounce
audience?
of silver, you get more than a loaf of bread. With an ounce of silver, historically, the historical value that was used as money was an entire day's wage, on average. So it was maybe $100, $150 worth. And it would, due to the scarcity factor, silver could go a lot higher than a day's wage. Maybe a silver dime would be worth a day's wage. Or a silver ounce could be worth a 10 days' wage. Those are possible logical values for what silver could do in the future.
Well, it seems to me like it would be easier for silver to go from $18 to $180 than it would be for gold to go from $1,300 to $13,000, but the percentage increase is the same.
Exactly. Not only that, but the market for silver is a lot smaller, so the market for silver could sustain that kind of growth. I looked at it myself, and I saw that the United States population is buying gold and silver at equal rates, because people typically understand that silver is going to be better. That bodes very well for silver's future price gains. But people are smart enough to look into whether silver, like I did, whether silver or gold is better. And if they do, they almost unanimously and overwhelmingly choose silver over gold when they look into it. But since a lot of people don't even look into it, yeah, we still have a lot of people buying gold. I had a lot of people in my shop exchanging both silver for gold and gold for silver, surprisingly.
I'm going to ask, do you and your mom both still have a shop?
Sometimes people, when they're old, like a widow, she's like, I don't want to move this stuff around anymore. I just want gold because it's lighter. So she would bring in silver and walk out with gold, and I'd make a sale on both of those. I'd give her a discount, of course, but it was fascinating to watch people go back and forth. And then men would come in and they'd be trading gold for silver because they're like, silver's going to outperform, silver's going to outperform. I want to make more money. I don't care. This stuff is heavy. That just shows we're getting a great value.
It is heavy, boy. I'll tell you. One of those little trays.
But the heavy is great. Nobody would ever complain about the heaviness of gold, and that's why gold is money, because it's so light and portable. In fact, gold itself is lighter than a stack of $20 bills now. $20 bills are just as heavy, if not heavier, and they take up way more volume. In fact, it's gotten to the point where a $100 bill by volume takes up more volume than gold does now.
Interesting.
Take $1,600 bills and take $1,600 bills, fold them all up. The resulting mass will be significantly bigger than a gold coin, almost double, triple, quadruple.
What's your thought on these cryptocurrencies?
The whole point of
Bitcoin,
the whole point
Ethereum.
of paper money is that it's supposedly more portable. It's not. It's heavier and it's bulkier. It's not more portable.
Right. And it's fiat currency.
Gold's really got something going for it still.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the cryptocurrencies?
I had the opportunity to buy them when they were like $3-5 a coin.
I brought Bitcoin to my audience.
I had a friend who was a programmer.
Yeah.
He's like, Jason, he begged me, please just put $25,000 into these things, lock it away. And I'm like, I can't in good conscience advocate this stuff because there's no rarity. I understand gold and silver so well. I understand there's no rarity to Bitcoin. In the sense that, yes, I know that there will never be more than whatever, it's like 25 million Bitcoins or whatever their deal is. However, there's no rarity value to the concept of an electronic currency. I said anybody can make an entire electronic currency system.
Right.
There will be no end to making electronic currency systems. And in the sense that there will be no end to the making of various competing systems, there's no rarity there. So it's just another Ponzi scheme of the greater fool theory, where the greater fool comes in last until everybody realizes these things are stupid.
Well, I came in last because I brought it to my audience at $2 a coin.
I could have made $15 million if I just bought $25,000 of this stuff. If I had just understood how stupid people were. I didn't understand that. I thought people would be smarter, but they're not. So what do I know?
Oh man, hardly a day goes by that I don't remind the audience that I told them about Bitcoin when they had never heard of it at $2 a coin. I didn't buy one stinking coin, not one.
You didn't buy one?
Not even one Bitcoin. Not even
I don't still
one.
have any Bitcoin to this day. Not even one. I could have had 10,000 of them.
I feel like such a
My buddy was telling me.
I really do.
You know, it is often my problem that I significantly underestimate stupidity of other people. I always think other people are far smarter than they really are, and that's always my mistake. My problem is people understand it when I explain it, okay?
Yeah.
I expect other people to be smart enough as me to be able to explain it to other people, and they can't and they won't. And that's where I fail. So the things that I explained to you, I thought would quickly become common knowledge, but human beings are so stupid, they need to hear it from 100 sources before they begin to believe. And those 100 sources don't exist out there.
Well, I've been banging the desk since 2005.
It's truncated and doesn't spread, and that baffles me that people refuse to be intelligent. I don't get it.
You mentioned portable wealth. One of the members of the audience wants to know what your view is on diamonds.
Diamonds are not money because they're not fungible. In other words, each diamond has to be individually assessed for its value.
Okay.
Also, the spread on diamonds is colossally wide. It's well over 10 to 1. The retail value of a diamond is nothing compared to what you'll get when you go to sell a diamond back. It's easy 10 to 1 or wider. Most people don't even know this. They think diamonds are rare because of TV, but you cannot get the value of your diamond out. So, yeah, go ahead. Spend $1 million on diamonds. You'll be lucky to sell them for $50,000, if even $100,000 if you're lucky. The only reason we think diamonds are valued is because of the marketing on TV and in the movies.
Yeah, the James Bond movies.
Slogans like diamonds are a girl's best friend, and that she's got portable wealth on her finger. It's all bullshit. You spend, $10,000 on a diamond on her finger, you will be lucky to find anybody who will pay $1,000 for that diamond. In our business, we don't even recycle diamonds at all. We can't give people money for diamonds because the market there's not a market there.
Do you still have your shop?
Because the spread is wide, the individual value, and No, I had to sell all my shop. I've been essentially broke for the last 2 years.
Okay. All right. Well, I knew there'd been
Great.
some changes in your life. I read about some of that on
Yeah.
Facebook. I want you to know I have an incredible amount of respect for your honesty and for your integrity and
Thank you.
for the changes, the hard changes that you've made in your life. And I'm hoping that you'll come back next, because I've kind of been down a similar path. I'm hoping you'll come back next Friday, and maybe we can talk a little bit about that.
Sure. I've really focused on my health over the last couple of years because it's something they can't really take away. And I've gotten really, really healthy. And
you drink
and
the
I'm glad
green
about that.
stuff and the coconut,
The
coconut
iodine,
oil.
boron, all sorts of minerals.
Yeah.
I take coconut oil.
Yeah, me too.
I work out. I do stretching. I do massage. I lift weights about every other day. Yeah, a lot of good stuff.
The latest
It
thing,
really makes a difference when you do a bunch of things together. The positive synergy you get is phenomenal.
the latest thing my naturopath doctor gave me are tarantula pills. Put 3 under the tongue every morning, and they dissolve. And it's supposed to keep me from being so high-strung and nervous, which I tend to be, like a racehorse. So.
I tend to be a little on the nervous side, too. Don't know if you could tell, but magnesium and zinc help with that tremendously.
Now, your
Those are the
website...
relaxation minerals. So now, these days, I take magnesium in the evening,
Yeah,
around 5 or 6 o'clock, and then I take zinc right before bed.
okay.
So magnesium is like the quiet time mineral. It doesn't have as powerful of a relaxation effect as zinc does. And then, and boy, when I skip the magnesium in the evening, I pay for it.
You know, now
Sometimes
my
I'll
wife
fall
was
right
telling me
away.
last night about, the magnesium that she takes right before she goes to bed. I said, isn't that magnesium citrate, isn't that to help you be more regular with your morning constitution? And she said, well, it can be used for
can help
that,
with that.
but it's not why, she said, it's not why I'm taking it this time of day in the amount that I'm taking. I'm doing it to help me sleep.
Why don't you guys both try magnesium in the evening and try zinc at night? Because zinc will more powerfully put you to sleep. You
I
can't
didn't know
take
that.
these things together. If you take both zinc, if you take a high amount of zinc and a high amount of magnesium at the same time, a lot of people get nauseous. So minerals should be taken throughout the day. So I do iodine and selenium and
I
things
do
like
iodine.
copper and stuff in the morning. I do other minerals maybe in the afternoon, and then I take zinc in the evening or magnesium in the evening, and then zinc at night. So try that. Try spacing out your minerals. Like just try magnesium in the evening and zinc at night, and then you'll see. So those have a powerful effect. You'll notice.
I'm going to try that. Now, I showed your website, silverstockreport.com. Do you still write on that website?
I haven't written a report since about August of last year. I'm considering writing some things again. I've got it back up online after it got taken down for a while.
Because I'm captivated by the biblical capitalism portion of that site. And I put a link in for the audience so that they can go there and read some of the articles and essays that you have written.
Thank you. Yeah, some of those essays go back to around 2002 and 2003 when I first began writing on topics like that.
I think that's probably when I first started reading your work and following you from a distance.
Great. Well, thank you.
So, what do you say? We make a date for same time, 10 a.m. Pacific next Friday?
That sounds good. I'd love to. Let's do it.
All right, and we'll be in touch through the week. I'd like to chat with you a little bit on the phone. I sent you my phone number. I'll send it to you again, and whenever it's convenient for you, give me a ring. All right?
I will. See you next week.
It has been a real pleasure to finally talk to you after all these years. Thank you for coming and being a part of the show today, and I look forward to next Friday.
Thanks. Thank you so much. Me
right.
too. Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, guys, Mr. Jason Hommel, and check out that link I put in the chat box. In fact, let me stick it in there again in case any of you missed it. And I will show it to you. Biblical Capitalism, all about honest weights and measures. It's what Jesus would do. These essays will be compiled into a book. Now, what we touched on a little bit there at the end. As we get Jason back more and more times, you'll learn more and more about what's transpired over the last few years. And I just got to tell you, I have a lot of respect and admiration for the guy. He's had rough times, he's had good times. Richard Pryor once said, I've been poor, I've been rich. Rich is definitely better. That was shortly before he set himself on fire smoking cocaine. But Richard, not Jason. So, anyway, check out the site, silverstockreport.com, and in particular, the chapter on biblical capitalism. You know, some people want to preach that Jesus was a socialist, or even worse, a communist. I don't think so. No. There's too much scripture to promote capitalism, in my opinion. So, anyway. Now, let's take a look at the S&P 500 Emini Futures. I already put up the... Anybody still need a screenshot? There you go. John may pop back in, but we're going to work our way through the trade alerts, and I think we're going to call it a week. But, okay. So on the S&P last night, we sent the alerts out early because we had the partners workshop last night. They went out at 7 p.m. Eastern, 1900 hours. The alert said to consider buying 24.33. So the first move up was good for 2 3/4 points. Price got back below the trigger. We get a second trade, good for 4 1/4 points. Price gets back below the trigger, and we now have a trade that has gone from 33 to 39. So 6 times 5, we've got 6 points at $50 per point. That's $300 per contract available. Okay. When you hear me say, and it doesn't look like it's done, and it doesn't look like we're going to close below the highest weekly trading zone this week. It looks like at this point we may be adding another to the list of times that it didn't happen. Okay. So you always hear me say important prices, important areas are almost always tested. 1, 2, 3. Well, no, there's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. Remember, I send you 8 markets, 2 trades per market. And as we go through the rest of the markets, we'll probably see that other markets have triggered multiple times in the same direction, and some of them may have even given us multiple trades, two-sided action, as Mike Reed calls it. And by the way, Mike Reed's having a trading camp next week. You can pop in over... You can just email him, mike@tradestalker.com. He's got a couple seats left, so if you're interested in one of those, get a hold of him over the weekend, because he starts it on Sunday afternoon. Okay? This thing over here is still climbing. All right, let's go to the Dow and see what's cooking there. Last night when the email went out, we said to consider buying. John, is that you? John, if that's you, I can't hear you. On the alert last night, we said to consider buying 21,165. The first move up was good for 45 points. Now, the reason I counted this and not this is because we trail our stop. And so if you were trailing your stop pretty closely, you probably got taken out here. But then price gets back below the trigger, up we go again, and this time it offers us 54 points. Okay, now the sell side on the Dow, the S&P, the short was never triggered. On the Dow, 210.75. Yeah, it doesn't look like that's going to happen either. So we've had 2 triggers on the Dow, 3 triggers on the S&P. Let's go look at soybeans. On soybeans last night, when the email went out, we said to consider buying 9.18. Now, I want you to look at how this thing hooked around and came right back to 9.18. Isn't that something? It may not move you the way it moves me, but I gotta tell you, it moves me. So, on the first pop, we get up to 924. That's 6 points times $50 per point. That's $300 per contract available. Okay? Now, on the next one, price gets back below the trigger, and the amount of stop that you need on this trade is pretty small. See, you might not have been able to take this trade. I'd have to figure it out, go look on a 5-minute. So you might have missed this one. This might have been a walk away, because we do not risk more than $300 on a Concierge Trade Alert. If we can't get it on the 30-minute, we go look at a 5-minute, and if we still can't get it based on the criteria that I teach you in the private mentoring sessions, then we walk. Because we have 8 markets, 2 trades per market. So it gets back below the trigger, very little risk, and so far we've put in a high up at 923.50. Yeah, 923.50. So 18 and 23. So that's going to be 5.5. I'll just put 5.5. $5.5 times $50 per point per contract. Nice day for the beans. If I'm not mistaken, I recall John yesterday talking about a potential rally in the greens, and this could be the start of it. Next on deck is bonds. Oh my, look at that. Okay, 1900 right there. You know, this action right here almost looks like, I know it's not time to roll bonds yet. These are the 30-year bonds. Okay, last night the email said to consider buying 155.07. And that's going to be right here. Now, yesterday, I made the comment, I don't know why we keep even doing the bonds, and then I said, I guess it's because we've gone through periods where we would have back-to-back $1,000 days. Okay, there's 155.07. That's what was in the email last night. By 155.07. $5.07. Okay. All right. There are 32 ticks to a point. One tick pays 31.25. 31.25 times 32 equals $1,000. So when price goes from 155.07 to 156.07, That's what we call a gee whiz. What's a gee whiz? That's $1,000 per contract available. Now, we do have a rule of thumb that says anytime you make $1,000 per contract on any one instrument in any one day, take the money and put the mouse away. What if we had been running our indicators on this? Would they have benefited us? Let's take a look. Give it a moment to populate. Okay, do you see how the step line crossed to the, now this is a long trade, so the black step line crossed to the south side of the CFMA1, and when this red candle closed below that step line, this candle closed at 156.05. That's the price you exit the trade if you're using the indicators as opposed to just manually trailing your stop. So by using the indicators instead of the rule of thumb, which made $1,000 available, there was even more available than the 1,000. This would have, by using the indicators, you would have been 2 ticks short of $1,000. Okay, this is a perfect example of when you get a runner like this, how you use the indicators to tell you when you've overstayed your welcome and it's time to move along. Next on deck, we've got gold, 1900 right there. Okay, and last night on gold, our recommendation was to consider buying 1270, and that happened right here, 1270. And the swing high, 1281.90. Okay, from 1270 to 1280, a $10 move. That's another gee whiz. From 1270 to 1280, that's $1,000 per contract available. Now when you get a parabolic move like this and you're trailing your stop, yeah, during this 30-minute candle, price is going back and forth, so you know you gotta develop over time how you're going to trail your stop. Are you going to use a fixed amount? You're going to go with your gut? You're going to use the indicators? It's up to you. If we were using the indicators in this instance, let's see what that looks like. It's probably going to look pretty similar to the bonds. Right there. Well, step line crossed here, and it looks like this candle, that closed below the step line. So you would have been told to exit at 1278.90. Okay? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful move on gold. You can't not like that. Now, the short side that we sent out on gold last night It said if you have the opportunity, consider selling 1267. This is what we call two-sided action. You got a chance to trade both sides of the market. 1267. Okay. Sell 1267. Alrighty. And the swing low was 61.30. Let's just round it up to 62. We'll call it 5 points. Actually, let's call it what it is, $570 per contract available. We never get out of the swing high or swing low. Why? Because we trail our stop and or trade to a fixed target. And so we're always going to leave a little something on the table. Okay? And you've got to learn to be okay with that. Because you start trying to wring every last tick out of a move, you're going to end up costing yourself far more than you make. So 570 on the short side, over 1,000 on the long side. Beautiful day for gold. Coming up next, the NQ. $1,900. I'm sorry, 1,900 hours. Come on. Okay. On the buy side, consider being long 58.30. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Looks like 58.30. 58.30. Okay, so this needs to come down. Okay, buy 58.30. Okay, swing high 44.5, so let's just call it 14 times $20 per point. 14 points times $20 per point equals $280 per contract. $280 per contract available. Okay. Now the next one here, it's a little bit tricky because price got below and then shot right back up and then came right back down. So for simplicity's sake, I'll just use this example. Okay, very little risk, and the swing high 58.76.50. So we'll call it 58.76. So that's 46 points. Okay. So let's go 46 times $20 per point. That's $920 per contract available. So that's not quite a gee whiz, but we've had 2 markets that ran over $1,000 per contract, and one that could very well make it over $1,000 per contract before the day is over. Okay, so that takes care of the NQ, the NASDAQ. Next, we have crude oil, and then the Russell, and then we're done. Okay. Now, these are on crude this week's weekly trading zones. I adjusted them yesterday. And is 47.55 the lowest weekly zone? No. The lowest zone was way down at 45.80/85. So let's find 1900 last night. That's going to be this red candle right there. Okay. And on crude, GCLN7, we said to consider selling 47.85. $47.85. Sell 47.85. Okay. Swing low. 46.74. We just got another gee whiz. Okay, 47.85 minus 47.85 minus 46.74 times $10. $1,110 per contract available. That may be the most $1,000 moves we've had in a single day. This makes number 4. Gold, bonds, the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ's so close to 1,000, I think it may break over 1,000 by the end of the day. Wow. Gotta love that. Okay, last but not least, I said would be the Russell. So let's go find the Russell. Didn't mean to do that. Let's put that back up and that back up and find the Russell. Okay. Now on the Russell, we broke out above our highest weekly zone. Now look what happened. Price broke above the zone. It's like doing the S&P. Came back, touched the zone, consolidated, made sure it was going to be good support, and then it launched. And boy, did it launch. Okay. On the Russell, we wanted to be buyers at 1401. Be right here. Buy 1401. Okay, so the first move high took us to 1403.60. So that's $130 per contract. It's so much easier to calculate at $10 a tick, or here we get back below the trigger, up we go again. This time we hit 1405.40. So that's $220 per contract. I'm doing it in my head today just to show off. All you gotta do is multiply it times 10 and cut it in half. Okay. Then we get below the trigger and we put in this beauty, which runs up to 1407.60. So let's just call it $300 per contract. It's a little more than that, but I can do that in my head. $300 per contract available. Okay. And then one last time, we get back below the trigger. Very little risk. Can't say it enough. Trades that offer the smallest amount of risk often provide the greatest amount of profit. Swing high. 1416.60. So we'll call that 15 points. Back in the day, that would be $1,500. But today, it's only $750. Only, he says. $750 per contract available. Okay? Now, let's sweep through these one more time, because it's just a great day to be CFRN partner or a Concierge Trade Alert client. We got Jason Hommel as our guest. He's coming back next Friday. On the S&P 500, our recommendation last night in the email that all those on the trial and all clients received was to consider buying 24.33. First move was good for 2 3/4 points. The second move was good for 4 1/4 points. And then the last move was good for $300 per contract available. On the Dow, first move was good for 45 points. I didn't count this because you probably got stopped out here if you were trailing your stop. Back below the trigger, and another 54 points. Soybeans, $300 per contract available. Back below the trigger, and we get 5.5 points times $50 per point per contract. Soybeans pay you exactly the way the S&P pays you. $12.50 a tick, 4 ticks to a point. So it's $50 per point. $12.50 per tick. Okay? After soybeans, there was bonds. We said consider buying 155.07, and they ran up well over $1,000 per contract. Gold. We had two-sided action in gold. We had an opportunity, based on the email, to sell 1267, worth 570 per contract, and then to buy 1270, which was worth over $1,000 per contract. Okay, the NQ. We said to consider buying 58.30. First move good for 280 per contract, and then this move good for $920 per contract. And then crude oil. We said to consider selling 47.85, which I didn't note that if we draw a line across, because important prices and important areas are almost always tested, you're getting a second opportunity on the crude here. The first one was good for over $1,000 per contract. How far will this one drop? Just keep watching. You'll see. And the final one, the Russell. First trigger 130, second trigger 220, third trigger 300, and the final trigger $750 per contract available. We do not get out at the swing high or swing low. We trail our stop. We're patient. We walk away from trades that require us to risk more than $300 per contract. If you would like to take a trial of the Concierge Trade Alerts, try to make it as easy as possible. Go to emini.cfrn.net. Don't try to remember all that gobbledygook. Just type in emini.cfrn.net. Enter. Okay, right above the baseball dude, it says to go straight to the $1 for 5 days trial. Click here. No automatic rollover. This is also going to give you access to the live training room next week. It'll give you access to all of our tools and strategy, everything. You'll get a private one-on-one mentoring session. We really roll out the red carpet for that dollar. That's our dollar menu. They don't have that at McDonald's. Now, there's no automatic rollover. What that means is at the end of 5 days, the trade alerts simply stop coming. You don't automatically get rolled into the quarterly or the annual program. As you know, as of June 1st, we had our first price increase on the Concierge Trade Alerts. The price is now $24.97 per quarter, and with an annual subscription, we used to knock $1,000 off. Now we knock $2,000 off of the annual subscription. Okay, so keep that in mind, and only use this link. If you find a link in another article that I wrote about the Concierge Trade Alerts, once upon a time we did have the automatic rollover. It clearly said, when your trial is finished, if you don't want to become a subscriber, please log in to PayPal and cancel. But people forget. Life happens. I understand. I do stuff all the time. I take a trial and I promise myself I'm really going to remember to cancel the trial, and then I forget. So we just put a stop to it. At the end of 5 days, you're done. If you want to become a subscriber, call 949-423-6464. That's 949-42-EMINI. Or call us. I'm sorry, or email us. support@cfrn.net. Jake says, I could not make it to the meeting last night. I'm wondering if you had a vote on trading zones. Are you going to change them over to gold? We did discuss it at great length, Jake, and the consensus was that this weekend we're going to do gold instead of the Russell. And if I have time, I'm going to do them both. Because I've got some old clients that still trade the Russell, and if I'm going to take the time to do it for them, you know, might as well share it with you guys as well. So, thanks for asking. Thanks for bringing that up. Fuad says, please do them both. Okay, Fuad, you know what? I'm going to just make a commitment. I'll do them both this week. Can't do it every week, guys. It's just too time consuming, but I'll do it this week. Because y'all asked so politely. Okay? All right. It's the weekend. Everybody's been working for the weekend. We had a short week because of the holiday. Just kind of nice. I still feel slightly relaxed from having that extra day off. Next week will be a full week. I guess our next holiday will be July 4th. Unless I've forgotten something. Any other holidays in the month of June? I don't think so. So, got a full month of trading ahead of us. We'll be here each and every day, God willing, as we have been for the last decade plus. My, how time flies. When we first broke the airwaves in April of 2005, if you had told me that I would still be doing this in June of 2017, I'd have probably given you a blank stare and said, really? Did God tell you that? Because it was not in my game plan. But here I am, and happy to be here. Happy to have each and every one of you as a part of my life. So, the law at CFRN is this. On the weekend, you're required to spend quality time with your family, or we shun you like the Amish. No, seriously. Your family loves you. You work too hard. Give them some time. Real time. You know, where you put the phone away, and the iPad away, and the laptop away. You actually look them in the eye and connect with them. Listen to their stories, you know. Have a conversation, take a walk. You know I'm preaching to myself, right? Okay. And of course, I'll see you all in church on Sunday. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Whoever you are, whatever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading Emini Futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.